Let's bring in Tim Schmidt, U.S. Concealed Carry Association president, who joins us now. Tim, you've been listening to Wayne LaPierre. Is he making some good points?
Good morning, Ashley. I really think he is. I think he's on point. I think it makes a lot of sense that we need to become serious about protecting our schools and our children, because he's right. It is a completely gun-free zone, which, of course, we know that the criminals never follow that. And this is the only place, one of the few places, that guarantee a whole bunch of children that are completely defenseless.
Now, we know that President Trump has already talked about improving the background checking system, raising the age when able to purchase some of these weapons, bump stocks, banning those. Are these enough?
Of course not. When you say are these enough, really, this is feel-good legislation.
Right.
Bump stocks, changing the background checks. I mean, sure, you can pass this legislation. Is it going to have any effect on crime? Practically zero. The real effect is when you arm responsibly armed citizens to be in the situation where they can protect our kids.
But you get a little pushback from those who say, you start arming teachers, you're turning it into the OK Corral. How can we trust these teachers? How can we trust them to make sure that kids can't get hold of those guns? You're creating a less safe environment. How would you respond to that?
Ashley, that's 100% untrue. The good news about this sort of a situation is that all you have to do is have 3 to 5% of the teachers be willing to become responsibly armed, and now you create this powerful deterrent effect. A powerful deterrent effect so that when the criminals decide, am I going to attack this school, they're not going to, because they're going to be afraid of getting shot.
What difference will it make if teachers are armed, they're properly trained, if there's, God forbid, another situation like we saw in Florida? What's the difference in the outcome?
Well, it's very difficult to guess exactly what the outcome would be. However, I would propose that by just the fact that having these teachers armed, like I said before, it'll create a powerful deterrent effect, and it will drastically minimize the amount of people who are willing to carry out these attacks simply because the only thing that they understand is violence. They don't want to be shot. It's
interesting because to that point, just Wayne LaPierre there said, look, armed security, the argument goes, makes us less safe, especially in the context of schools. And he made a good point. He said, OK, so if that's the case, let's remove it from the White House, Capitol Hill, Hollywood, and so on. I mean, that's a good argument, would you not say?
It's a very good argument. I was just listening as we were preparing for this interview, and I thought he really nailed it. So good for him.
But are you surprised at the backlash? We've had a number of these, unfortunately, these cases. But it seems like is this a tipping point in some way? The reaction and the backlash and the call for gun control. I haven't seen something like this up to this point.
Ashley, I really hope it is a tipping point in the sense of getting people to realize that the true solution isn't passing feel-good legislation, but more about getting more responsibly armed citizens in these schools, whether it's a security guard, whether it's a well-trained teacher that wants to do it. That's the real solution, because that's the only thing that's going to make a difference.
So to the children, you know, again, I come back to the critics, because I know there's always the other side of this argument. They say you're turning schools into like fortresses. But on the other hand, is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think so at all. I want my children to go to a school that's considered a fortress. I mean, it's not going to be like an old Western where everyone's walking around with a firearm on their hip.
Right.
There's going to be a handful of administrators and maybe teachers, maybe coaches that are discreetly armed, and no one will know except for the perps who won't show up.
I also have heard people say, well, we should immediately ban the AR-15, the weapon that was used in Florida. To me, that seems pointless. There's so many other weapons out there, right?
Actually, there's over 300 million guns in the United States. You can say, hey, let's ban this one that looks like this or this one that looks like this. Absolutely no effect on any criminals.
All right. I think we'll leave it right there. But thank you so much, Tim Schmidt, for joining us and commenting on what we heard from Wayne LaPierre this morning from the NRA. Thank you so much, Tim. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. My pleasure.